This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.
What is happening, you guys? Welcome back to Let's Go Win podcast. I'm extremely excited for this guest because he is talking about three things for sure that I'm passionate about. Born and raised in the poorest city in America to early retirement from the police department, Neo-Positivity knows firsthand how to alter your life's current trajectory and your average daily mindset. Neo learned about the law of attraction in March of 2008 and quickly became obsessed with creating and mastering new custom LOA techniques. This obsession led to the creation of his summit called Neo-Positivity's Thoughts Become Things Summit. Over the past 13 years, he's interviewed hundreds of law of attraction specialists and cataloged their greatest techniques. Neo, you are talking exactly stuff I love, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me on your show. Thank you.
Truly, it's my pleasure. Well, I mean, I asked you off air, but we may as well just start in with the story because the poorest city in America, I'm like, I had a list of cities go through my head, but what you said was not the one I expected. So where did you come from, man? And tell me your story.
I was born and raised in Camden City, New Jersey. I ended up being a cop there for 8 years, and 6 out of those 8 years, it was the poorest and most dangerous city in America. I think it actually just earned that title again for 2021. I'm not sure, but yeah, from the hood, learned the law of attraction, obsessed over it, got good at it, retired, and have been touring the country ever since, just trying to show people how I use it in hopes that maybe they could apply it to their life in some way and get some of the results that I have.
Well, and it's a fascinating subject because, look, there's lots of, it's a very polarizing subject. People are either passionately with it or passionately like, nah, that's woo-woo. And I know you're laughing because that's exactly the experience I know you have to have. But tell me, man, where did you first learn about it in March of 2008? And let's talk about that journey because it obviously hits you. You even said, man, I became obsessed with this, and it is really, it sounds like it's your life. It's what you create every single day.
Yes, I was a cop, and my old partner was a retired CIA agent, and he came to me one day. He was like, "Listen, there's this movie. You got to see it." And I remember kept asking him, "What's it about? What's it about?" And he's like, I don't want to tell you. You got to just see it." And so, I'm a SWAT team guy. I'm expecting to see like rapid deployment, some kind of room clearing or something, and it was The Secret. And so I watched it, and of course, people see it as like hippie talk, like you said, woo woo. But when I first saw it, it just clicked. Like I just started matching up times in my life and what my mindset was just before certain things happen, in the weeks leading up to said graduation or promotion or raise or whatever the situation is. And I was obsessed, man. I immediately knew that I had to learn more. I went online. Oprah Winfrey was talking about it, but she said it was like the icing on top of the cake. So I'm like, all right, so what's the cake? So I start studying. Eckhart Tolle wrote a book called The Power of Now. That book is like my Bible. That really taught me a lot about mentality and the pain body and its appetite. And so I decided to do different little mental exercises, little different things here and there. And some things worked, some things didn't. I would have my family try stuff. And if something was universal and it worked, no matter, who did it, tall, short, fat, skinny, black, white, old, young, male, female, if it worked for everybody, then I was like, all right, this is it. I'm cataloging this. I'm gonna share it on Facebook. And yeah, 8 months later, I ended up retiring. But it's interesting, in the last month, there's this one exercise I developed called the Watcher exercise. And that right there changed everything. That took all of my manifesting techniques that I had been doing for those 7 months leading up to that. They were all working for small things, and they took, anywhere from 20 to 30 days to manifest something. But that took it to the next level. Obviously, I retired less than a month later. So yeah, it was a journey. And it's like same thing. Since then, I consider myself a professional trier. I just try different things and catalog what works. And then, from interviewing people, I get there. It's like me and you today. I call it a beautiful tennis match. We're probably going to bounce ideas off each other of how we've used the law of attraction. And at some point, the two balls will collide and birth a new idea that we'll both hang up the phone like, I'm going to try this today. So just imagine a whole group of people all bouncing ideas, birthing new ones. And that's the idea behind the summit. And it's a really beautiful thing. And it's a great way to spend a Saturday afternoon. You just feel amazing afterwards.
Well, that is the funny thing. That's what I've never understood is whether you think it works or it doesn't, you're going to be right. And that's kind of the misnomer of it all. But it does, man. It makes you feel good. It really gives you, I guess, power to say, I do control my destiny. Good, bad, or indifferent, by the way. I got to own that shit. Like some of it's real good, some of it's real bad. And so, as you've said, it's been 13, 14 years that you really dove in as a student, as a teacher. I don't know if you consider yourself a master at this point or not, but I guess my question is, what do you say to people if they're listening to this and like, all right, bullshit, man? What do you say to them to say, just try, just check it out?
In the movie The Secret, I look over because right above my door, I have this feather. In the movie The Secret, they ask you to think about a feather or a butterfly, and whichever one you don't see the most. And that's all. That's what I would have them do. Think about something, focus on something light like that, and then call me when you see it. And they'll see it. Man, was that him? And then they're gonna start trying it for different things. You're always gonna have the naysayers that just don't. I'll put it like this: people don't want to believe in the law of attraction for the bad things that have happened to them. So that's why most of the people are like, I believe in the law of attraction, but I don't know, because they're all thinking, and I hear it every day, I didn't manifest my grandma dying. I didn't manifest that car accident. So they believe it for the good stuff, but not for the bad stuff. And you can't halfway believe in something. You whatever you focus on the most will grow, good or bad. And the people that think they're not doing it, or it cracks me up, the people who say, yeah, I'm into the law of attraction, I'm gonna start next week. That kills me. I'm gonna start next week. That absolutely kills me. I'm like, you've been doing this since birth. You want to know what you've been thinking about. Look at your current life. That is exactly what you've been focused on. That is exactly what you expected today to be like. So but get someone started with something small like a feather or a butterfly. After watching The Secret, I went outside and there was a feather. Because I always saw butterflies, I chose to focus on the feather, and I just saw it in my hand. No good, no bad. I just imagined it was there, and I let it go. I didn't even do it a second time for the rest of the day. It was late, kind of late when I saw the movie, but I didn't do it anymore. And the next day I went outside, and this huge 12-inch feather was like slightly tucked into my windshield wiper, just like dangling in the wind, to the point where I had to like run and grab it before it flew off. I was just like, wow, like what it took for the bird to be in the exact right spot and the wind to carry it over and stick it there long enough for me to come outside. Like that was like, I did that. And that hooked me. After that, it's immediately, as soon as I manifested that feather, I said, I'm going for retirement. I always knew working wasn't for me, the whole 9 to 5 thing. Like I loved helping people, and I loved being a cop, and I loved chasing people in karate and fighting, because football and karate were always my two favorite things my whole life. But I knew I just felt like I was meant for more. Like I knew it. And so I was like, yeah, this 9 to 5 ain't doing it for me.
Well, and I only imagine all the things you have attracted to your life. But let's talk about the science just a little bit, because I mean, we're talking about energy. And as you said, that whole, I'll do it next week. It is funny because whether you like it or not, this is what you're doing. So let's just accept that you do attract things into your life. We all do. Right. And so can you just touch on kind of the science and the energy and how it all works? And I know we could dive into this for hours, and I'm not asking for that, but I do want people to really just hear it, whether they've watched The Secret, read some of the different books, gone to your course or not. Look, this is scientific. This is not again,
Mhm.
I don't even use woo woo on my show other than to apply it to people saying like, I don't believe it. This is not woo woo. This is science. This is real. This is the universe, earth, God, energy. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, for someone who's not too techie, I'll just say, you ever thought about someone or had a conversation about someone that you haven't seen in years and end up inboxing you like a couple of days later? Or like any situation where you're saying, man, I was just thinking about that. Well, that energy transfer, that magic, whatever you want to call it, can be used to get more than a phone call. I usually try to hit people like that with it. Scientifically, I'm not too much of a scientist, but I know that this is how I usually explain it. When you have a thought, I know it travels down your spine and releases from your lower back, like an energy pulse, and it's strengthened by emotion. Now that pulse, that energy wave, then travels across the entire universe, not just Earth. It goes all the way out. The third law of motion demands that every action has an opposite and equal reaction, which means the universe has to do whatever it has to do to you to make that thought travel back to you, opposite, and be thought again, which is the equal reaction. So for you to think about any type of pain, um, the universe has to make you think about that pain again. And that comes in many different ways and shapes and forms for everyone who's like, I didn't manifest that car accident. Yeah, but you've been stressing about money for the past couple weeks and you got in a couple fights with your spouse and your kids acting like a butthole. That could add up to several different ways of the universe making you feel a set type of pain. But like you said, owning it, looking at a situation and saying, what have I been thinking about in the last couple of weeks to make that happen? Because I don't want to do that again. I don't want to spend time in that headspace. That's where you grow and that's where you learn. So scientifically, yeah, that's how I would put it out to everybody.
Well, what's fascinating, brother, because literally this morning, waking up, my wife says, dude, I was just dreaming and thinking about this guy from college, and he just connected with me on LinkedIn. She didn't even say it, man. She didn't even verbalize it, but literally thought about it. Hadn't seen this guy in over 20 years, and boom. So I accepted a long time ago. It is what it is. We create this. But you talked about ego, man. I want to dig into this because you mentioned Eckhart Tolle, and obviously he's written some books that have really hit. I think that definitely shaped Oprah's thinking, as you mentioned earlier. But talk about ego because he really dives into that. How does ego play a part in how we're showing up in the world? You mentioned pain. I mean, this is all kind of ego based, a lot of what you're saying. So can you touch on that?
I don't, I'll just say, and I use the word God loosely. I just mean whoever you believe in, whoever you believe is creating the world as we go. But they have a saying, if you ever want to make God laugh, tell him your plan, because his plan is so much bigger than yours. And so how do you let God's plan unfold? Well, when you're thinking about the future or the past, you're manifesting. When you think about when you're in the present, that's when you're letting God's plan unfold. And the reason why I talk about that is because the ego has one job: to keep you present. So when you think to yourself, I'm a millionaire, or I'm on the beach, I'm on vacation, I'm retired, when you think those things, the ego, it's activated. Okay, my job is to bring him back to the current moment. What can I use to do that? The ego accesses the subconscious. The subconscious has stored everything you've ever seen. You could look at a full sheet of paper with words for 1 second and you don't know what it said. The subconscious has stored the whole thing. So the ego accesses the subconscious and all its information and uses whatever it has to wake you back up to this moment, which means no, you're not rich. No, you're not on the beach. No, you're not on vacation. You know what that would take? How many people have went on vacation that you know? How many percentage of people are rich? It's going to use all these statistics to bring you back to the moment. Subsequently, it sucks because I can't enjoy being on a beach right now, or in a $1 billion mansion or boat, or whatever it is you want out of life, because the ego is going to constantly seemingly kick your back in, trying to wake you back up to this moment. So accepting that it's a part of you is huge, because to hate you manifests a future where you hate you, and you don't want to manifest that. So there's a level of acceptance. The Untethered Soul is a great book. It taught me to see that voice as a different person, kind of. If I'm the observer of the voice, then we're obviously separate. I'm observing it. And so that allows me to separate myself from those type of ideas. But yeah, point blank, it's not going anywhere. Sometimes it says a lot of sucky things. You just have to find a way to deal with it. And 60 to 70 thoughts on average per day per person, trying to stay positive 30,001 times to be 51% positive for today is just too much. So you kind of have to shape the way you see things, because bad stuff is going to happen. Emails, phone calls, they're going to happen. So if you can change the way you see things, when that news hits you, you kind of filter it out and send out a different energy. That's the real way that I've come up with so far to deal with it, because it's definitely been something I've been working on for the past 13 years, the ego and all of its glory. But yeah, change the way you see things to change the way you react to its voice when it kicks in, because it's not going to stop kicking in.
All right. So I hope everyone just heard what he said. Look, he has been doing focus almost solely on this idea, law of attraction. His last name is positivity, for the love of goodness. But what he just said is, look, you can't control the 50 to 60,000 thoughts. You're going to have negative ones. What I heard, and I want you to make sure that we really drive this home, it's potentially the way you react, right? Or respond might be a better word, rather than react to it. And what you put out into the world. So did I hear that right, brother? Like, you get some negative thoughts going on, but it's really, what are you going to do with that? That sounded like a real technique that you utilize. And I want to get into the watch or some of the other techniques you use, but did I kind of capture that in the correct manner?
Yeah, you gotta stop the thought in its tracks. Every think of it like this: every second you're given not every second, but every moment, let's say, you're given one energy dollar to spend on whatever you want. You can spend it on pain, you can spend it on happiness. You're given one energy dollar, and whatever you spend it on is going to arrive on your doorstep like a package from Amazon. So if you're in that headspace, you get bad news and you allow yourself to sit there for the next 30 minutes, you just watered a bad seed for 30 minutes. I think of life like there's a bunch of flower pots in front of you, and every thought you have, you're just putting one drop, like energy dollars, one drop in the different flower pots. Things I like about my house, things I don't. My spouse, my car, my kids. That last post on Facebook someone wrote about me. You're watering these seeds all day, and majority rules. The plants that get the most nourishment are going to grow. They're going to be in your face. So when you're at those moments where the ego's kicking in, doing what it does, you got to shut that down. You can't afford, literally, you can't afford to stay in that headspace for 1 second. So I would suggest, like me, I have alarms, alerts, I have all kind of stuff going on to help my brain, because the brain is a muscle, has muscle memory. If you start doing it more often, the brain will start to do it for you. Like, I've conditioned my brain right now to when the bad news hits, it does a certain thing for me. And I wanted that because I knew that stuff was going to come. And I didn't want to get caught in going down a negative rabbit hole for 20 minutes. So I was like, all right, I need a way out. I need a way for my brain to do this for me. It's autopilot. We're on autopilot most of the day anyway. Our thoughts are just going. I needed a way to shift my autopilot so that my brain would do this for me. And that's the best part. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And the more your brain does it for you. So it's all good workup, man. You could work it out. It's definitely possible. It takes a lot of work. Controlling one's thoughts is the hardest occupation a man can have, according to both science and religion. So it's going to be daunting, to say the least, at first, but a little bit of meditation helps overall, because the brain is just going. We've been chugging away like a train for 34 years, and you can't just stop it all of a sudden. You have to practice stopping it to get good at stopping it. So it's definitely possible.
I mean, it's kind of like shooting a jump shot, right? The first time I shot a jump shot, look, even let's take the greatest, whether you call it Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe, it doesn't really matter. They didn't probably hit their first jump shot,
No.
but they practice and they practice and they practice. And I guess the difference here is we all have the ability. We don't have to be 6'6" with a 40-inch vertical to be really an NBA player. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all have this ability. and we get to choose how we think. And that's what I hope that we get across. Like, look, it doesn't matter what your God-given talents are. You weren't destined to be negative or positive. You have been shaped. So you kind of gave some tangible tips like alarms, meditation. I want you to dive a little bit deeper on that, man, because if I'm listening to this, I'm like, all right, I'm bought in. This Neo guy sounds pretty cool. He's calm, he's chill, he's retired, and he's developed what he really is passionate about. Where do I start, man? So we stop some thoughts. Can we kind of dive into like 101? This is where I'd start today.
I would set an alarm to go off at least twice a day, some kind of like a reminder app to where it's not like a loud alarm, ding, some kind of vibration, but you have to be disciplined because you actually have to do it. But when the alarm goes off, just say yes 10 times. And what that's going to do is by the third yes, you're going to be smiling. By the sixth or seventh yes, your brain is going to be throwing at you reasons to say yes, like that celebratory yes. Now, what that's going to do right there is, of course, thoughts become things, manifest the future where you're saying yes again, which is what you want. It's going to totally shift your vibration or your vibe. I know people don't like to hear the word vibration and think of it like hippie stuff, but we use the word vibe all the time, and that's short for vibrational frequency. So it's shifting your vibe. Your friends and family see you smiling more, and you end up it ends up being a great experience. But that's how you start. Once you get good at that, you'll start to wake up on your own. And what I mean by that is you'll be walking down the hallway, and instead of thinking about bills or your next chore or task, you'll all of a sudden see the room that you're in. And it's no longer background to your thoughts. You're in that room, you're present. When you start to do that more often, then you're golden, because remember to do these exercises is the hardest part. So definitely get good at waking up. But once you wake up, you have to do something. Say yes, say thank you 10 times, say some kind of affirmation. And if you're shaping your affirmation, it's real simple. Whatever it is, whatever goal it is you want, whatever you're working towards, what would you say if you already did that? Like if you accomplished that 5 minutes ago and you were happy, what would you be saying? What would you be thinking? The more time you spend in that headspace, every second you spend in that headspace, you're literally pulling that towards you. And picture a table with a whole bunch of coins laid out flat. Okay, you're the coin in the middle. The second you have a goal, it's the coin on the edge. Every second you spend thinking about it, it's moving towards you. And in its path towards you, it's moving all of the coins around it just a little bit. Those are the phone calls, the people that are talking about you. Next thing you know, you're getting that job offer. The coin moves towards you. You've watered the seed enough. It's at you. It's in your face. That plant has grown. However, as you're pulling it towards you, the second you stop thinking about that future and you start thinking about what's happening right now, because this is my house, I got to go cook, I'm flipping a pancake. The second you're here, you're now watering a future of here, watering that seed of this kitchen, not your mansion, not your dream house. So as you're watering the seed of this kitchen, you're now pushing the dream house slightly away from you, because that is moving towards you. So every second you spend in that headspace, you're pulling it. Every second you spend not in that headspace, you're not. And so when you shape your affirmations, you make sure you see it as though it's happening and feel it. Every thought that gets sent out can be hollow. If you don't have any emotion attached behind it, I call those hollow thoughts. Thoughts are strengthened by emotion, be it pain or be it good. The universe doesn't really have a moral compass. You water seeds and it delivers. So you got to be careful with that. So yeah, and if you're just getting started out with this, that is the number one goal. See it as though it already happened and bask in its glory.
It's amazing. I mean, look, I love saying yes. It does. You can't help but smile. Even as I say it one time, I'm like, yes, let's go. I want to ask you specifically some tangible things that you do both. And I'm talking straight away when you wake up in the morning, and then I'm talking straight away as you go to bed, because typically when I get into these conversations, people that really have this ability to manifest, to the law of attraction, they're very strategic or habitual when it comes to waking up, like straight out of the gate, the eyes open and there's a thing, and then straight before bed. So I mean this, I'm not talking an hour later. I'm talking boom. Neo, your eyes just woke up, and what happens?
First thing is, if I want to remember my dreams, which is recent, because for years I just didn't remember them and I didn't think I needed to. But then I recently learned this month that a lot of like Einstein's work, a lot of stuff comes to you when you're sleeping. A lot of great ideas, evidently. And I'm like, whoa, I'm missing out on that. So in the morning when I first wake up, I will keep my eyes closed at first and try to remember my dream. And if I do, good. If I can't, whatever. But really what's important is I put on the Calm app. I don't like to touch my phone in the first hour of the day. I will not look at any messages. I don't care who it's from. But I open the Calm app and I do this meditation. It's like 10 to 15 minutes. I think it's called 30 Days of Meditation. The guy's really good. He's got different ideas, and he'll talk and steer you through some things, how to handle said thoughts that come in. And then he'll be quiet for a couple minutes and allow you to try it. And then he'll step in like at seemingly at the perfect time. So meditation is huge. That's number one. And then after that, I'll go over whatever meetings I have throughout the day, or whatever I'm doing. But it's not like, okay, I got a meeting at 3 o'clock. It's that meeting went amazing. I signed the deal, $1 million signing bonus. And then I might say $1 million signing bonus. I might say that 10 times in a row. That way I'm setting an intention, I'm doing an affirmation, and most importantly, I'm smiling. That's big for me. 60 seconds of smiling or 60 seconds of laughter, depending on who's laying next to me. You don't just wake up and start laughing for 60 seconds out of nowhere. But I make sure when I'm standing up, I have a smile on my face. And as far as nighttime, I go over the meetings throughout the day, except the meeting that I go over went amazing. Even though the meeting did go amazing, I'm running a scenario where it went better than that. And then the meetings that I have the next day, I picture them going amazing. And then I try to meditate myself to sleep, basically. I just basically, like, if you hold your hand kind of close to your face and relax your hand, and you try to move your finger, try to move it the shortest distance you can without seeing it move. It's weird because people, they're like, what? Try to move your finger the shortest distance you can without seeing. If you see it move, go back and start over. Now, when you do that, you're intensely focused on your finger. Nothing else in the world matters. And I kind of use that as meditation. So I'll do one arm and then I'll scan my whole body. Boom. My skull, my eyes, my nose, because I breathe, my mouth, my smile. I'll go down my body, chest, stomach, arm, leg. And then I move to the next body part. And it's just 4 breaths. In and out is 1, 4 in and outs. And then I scan the whole body, then move to the next body part, then scan, and then the other leg. By the time I usually don't make it through the whole body before, I'm waking up the next day. I just fell asleep, didn't even notice it. So those are my 2 routines, and repetition is key. Yeah, repetition to this is key 100% in all aspects of, let's say, affirmations. You can't go to the gym and do 10 curls on your right arm and walk out and expect to be healthy. That's just not how it works. It's just the same way you can't say yes 10 times a day and expect to be rich by Tuesday. That's just not how it works. You get out of things what you put in, and you're going to have to put in a lot. And setting the tone for your day is important. That's why us law of attraction enthusiasts always have like morning rituals. Setting the tone for the day is exactly what it is. You are setting the foundation for how this day is going to be. Why not set it amazing? That's for one. And at nighttime, for let's say 8 hours of sleep, guess what? You're thinking all 8 hours. And most of us don't remember what we were thinking about. So you're watering all kind of seeds while you're thinking all night. I suggest, you do something to shape those seeds in your favor, and saying and whatever headspace you're in before bed really does dictate what you're thinking about all night while you're sleeping. That's why I do not suggest searching through Facebook while you're laying in bed. You don't want to take that drama to bed with you. I never scroll down on Facebook. I post and get out. I suggest you guys do the same.
Yeah, it is fascinating. And this goes to the old adage, never go to sleep angry, right? Especially with your spouse. to even if you happen to watch TV before you go to bed. Maybe it's not something dark, right? Maybe it's something a little happier, and maybe not right before you go to bed. One of the things that also I notice is there you have a lot of, I call them triggers or reminders. And I'm looking around just behind you, your t-shirt must become things to, there's all sorts of trinkets on that desk that I know have meaning behind them. Yeah, see, you're holding a crystal, I believe it is. Talk to me
Yes, of
about
course.
that, brother, because whether it's a rock, a piece of paper, a crystal, it doesn't matter. Is what you associate it to you. So talk to me about that, because this is also a common thing that people that do know law of attraction, this is something that they develop. It's a skill, or it's a habit maybe.
I've got triggers everywhere. I got the alerts on my phone. This tattoo I got, it's an energy. I'm sorry, it's an infinity sign with energy waves on it and dollar signs on the end. And 40, and my number 42 is in the middle. That was my reminder. I started wearing a watch because I never wore a watch before, just to remind me to do these mental exercises. I have things like this. It's $1 million bill, just with glue tack on it, just up on the wall. They'll be around the house places. And when I see it, that's my wake up call to remind me to do these things. Like I said, remembering to remember to do them is the toughest part, because life just comes at you. I got a 4-year-old running around, all kind of meetings and phone calls. I love crystals. This is my little shrine. I realized I didn't have one, so I just threw all my crystals together and made one. The thing about crystals is this: a lot of people, once again, hippie talk type stuff, but crystals are legit. Think about what's in a watch: a quartz crystal. Why? Because it regulates the frequency of the second hand. It makes sure it doesn't extend any longer or any shorter than it's supposed to be. They don't just regulate the frequencies of watches, they regulate our frequencies too. And if this is zero right here and up is positive, down is negative, we as people naturally reside in a negative headspace because of what if. You don't know how the world's going to treat your kids 20 years from now. You worry about things. As people, we worry. I'm not going to sit in a chair like that because I sat in one like that and it broke before. As people, we're naturally judging and worrying. So we reside down here. For me to grab a crystal and for it to regulate me, it's moving me up in vibration. And if you pick up a crystal, you should feel something in your chest that feels like if you go like that right now, you'll feel kind of almost the closest thing I can find to what it feels like to grab a crystal. And if you grab a crystal and you don't feel anything, that's how detached you are from reality. That's how much the more time you spend outside of you, phone calls, schedule, Facebook, come home, cook, clean, go to sleep. The more time you spend outside of you, the less time you're spending inside of you. So you're not going to be able to necessarily feel things like that at first. But the more home you get, the more time you spend meditating, you pick up one of these crystals, you're going to feel something. And so I love crystals, and I suggest everybody get to that point to when they pick it up, they feel something. That's how you know you're in tune, and key in on that. Keep that. Enlightenment is not like a black belt where you get it and it's yours. People think that's what it is. You earn it and you have it forever. No, you have to maintain it. It's like it's like thinking about a vacation. While you're thinking about it, you're good. The second you stop, you are no longer enlightened. The second you start thinking, I got to get eggs on the way home, you're no longer enlightened. Now you're thinking about eggs. So it's kind of like you got to work at it. And I compare it to jogging a lot. If you jog, you get good at it. If you stop, you get bad at it. So, and that law of attraction 100% is like jogging. You have to every day work on it, or you will slowly separate from it or the feeling a crystal gives you.
Yeah, it's so true. Whether it's jogging, playing any sport, anything you do, if you don't work at it, if you don't practice it, if it's not front of, you say mind, although that might be the wrong terminology here, you're right. You lose some of that skill or that ability. So it makes total sense to me. I have to ask this just because, again, I imagine you back being SWAT And now I see this man here where it's like, was he so zen or so chill? And my question is not, it's not even a judgment. I'm curious, in your journey, as you evolved, as you changed as a human being, were you the same? Are you the same, like compass, that compass, same values, and maybe it's just a more chill exterior, or has much shifted in that regard? And I ask this for a specific reason. As your family, as your friends, as the people in your life, I have to imagine they saw shifts. So how did that look for you?
Oh man, I think the shift was small
Mm.
from outside looking in. I've always been positive. I've always tried to find the silver lining. I was the kindergarten counselor, they call it, where I was always the guy everyone just turned to and would just spill out their problems to. And I don't tell people's business, so I was always a good source. So that I'm pretty much the same person. Every time I've ever yelled at someone, not every time I've ever yelled at someone, but like in the streets or even with my kids, I hope they don't see this, but when I yell at my kids, as soon as I leave the room, I almost start laughing. Like I almost start laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't. Like it's funny to me, because it's just like that's not me. And it's my a good friend of mine. One day, I had a barbecue and his son did something stupid, I guess you could say, and he yelled at him like he was digging in his ass. And I had to leave the room because I just want to start laughing. I was like, I've never seen you mad before. So yeah, I've always been that lighthearted, looking for the silver lining and laughing and stuff like that. So that I don't think it's been a huge shift. I am 100% more zen as far as like crystals and meditation and laid back. Uh, so yeah, as far as that goes, yeah. But that was, that I think that's just people. When I was a cop, I was chasing people down dark alleyways and going out and drink after work with other cops and hanging out and doing cops type stuff and going to clubs and stuff. And now I don't even want to go to a club. Like it's too loud. You can't hear people talking. So that's, I think that came with age, that shift.
Yeah, I got you. You've mentioned a couple books. You mentioned The Power of Now. You mentioned Untethered Soul. Is there any other resources if somebody's like, man, and obviously I want them to go check out what you're doing. I think they get a ton of value from it. But is there any other resources that come to your top of mind where you're like, yeah, man, this is another thing if you're interested in bettering your life, law of attraction, The Secret, you mentioned the movie, obviously the book. Any others that you can think of top of your mind?
Well, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle is an amazing book, but A New Earth is basically The Power of Now too.
Mm.
It incorporates everything from the first one with a whole lot more. So it's actually way better book. The Secret's a great book, but what is it called? The Power. It's like basically The Secret Part 2. I think it's called The Power. Same thing. It's The Secret on crack. It's amplified. It's got everything from the first one plus some great content. So that Untethered Soul changed my life. The Science to Getting Rich, recent book, came in, swooped me off my feet. I say poison words. I can, I will, I hope were always poison words for me. It's good to have hope but not to say it, because saying I hope manifests a future where you're saying I hope again, which means you never get it. I will do this manifest a future where you're saying I will again, which means you never do it. So I stayed away from can for 13 years. But this year I said something like, I can run a multi-million-dollar corporation. Like, yeah, I can do that. And I felt confident. The ego had to sit back and let the subconscious, just be happy about that. And I was like, wow, I just watered the seed of running a multi-million-dollar corporation, and the ego let me sit in it. So I like using I can now when it's capability. The Science to Getting Rich gave me the word getting. I can honestly say I'm getting a Lamborghini, and the ego has to let me sit in it. It's not going to say, no, you're not. What would it take to get a Lamborghini? I'm working towards it. I'm taking the steps, and it's basically in the mail. So I can honestly say that. So I love using the word getting now. Like I'm getting this, I'm getting a promotion, I'm getting that signing bonus. I love it because it makes me feel like it's in the mail. There's nothing, it's like ordering a package. Once you click buy, It's on its way. There's nothing you can do to make it come faster. You can't go to the post office and pay or convince the mailman. You have to just sit back and let it come. And so that's when you use getting in that type of way, it allows you to sit in that headspace. So these books are amazing. I can't think of any other ones right now off the top of my head, but
That's plenty. I mean, look, man, that we gave them a load of reading, a heck of a lot of knowledge. I love not.
Let me say this though.
Yeah.
The thing about those books, like The Power, kind of reiterates the same thing over and over again until the last 3 chapters. Untethered Soul kind of reiterated the same thing through the whole book. Science of Getting Rich reiterated. He said thoughts become things 95,000 times in a row, 65,000 different ways in the first 11 chapters, and the last 3 are amazing. I have, for the summit, Neo-Positivity's Thoughts Become Things Summit Facebook group. If you go in there, you get information about the summit, of course, updates like that, but you also get your daily dose of like positivity. I have a newsletter that I send out with emails that I've got, I think, 43 mental exercises that I do. Each day, you'll get a new mental exercise, and they're all great. And you know, as people, we get used to things. So you kind of, if I'm saying yes, 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 by tomorrow I might say it, but by the 3rd day, I'm not really saying. I've been forgot. You got used to it. That's why you need a new one every day. So the reason why I steer people towards the group is everyone I've interviewed and every book I've read, I've pulled out what you need and got rid of the rest. When I was a cop, I had like 30 different training officers. They just kept putting me with different people. And I learned to grab the good and get rid of the bad. Because as a cop, if you screw up, you don't get fired. You go to jail. So you have to make sure you're not going to take on that guy's bad habits. So if you go in a group or you do sign up for the newsletter, you get the best of what I've picked up over the last 13 years of research. The summit's free, the newsletter's free, the website's free. I make everything free because the majority of the world, we need numbers. You know this, for the law of attraction, to change the world, the earth will evict us before it allows us to destroy it. In order to change the world, we got to get rid of the negativity. The only way to replace that is positivity. So we need numbers. The vast majority of the planet thinks this is all hippie stuff, and they think they can't afford to go to $1,000 summit. Guess what? This one's free. All the information's free. You got no excuse. So get over there, learn everything you can, do some mental exercises and change your life. And then post in the group what you changed about your life. Show other people that it's working for you. And then tell your friends and family so that it can work for them. So that's what I love about the group. Those books are great, but I think the group is your all-in-one, one-stop shop for everything you need.
Guys, I mean, look, free. He just said, what can you can't afford not to do this at this point. It's free. Now, I say that jokingly because look, what you're going to learn the value is tremendous. Brother, you kind of went on, I hope, an open forum, but is there anything I didn't ask you today that you're like, hey man, I got to share this with the audience before we kind of end up?
No, you know what? I will say this. This right here is a poker chip. I used to take a pebble, put it in my pocket, reach in there. Every time you feel it, what's that? Oh, just do your mental exercise, or get a poker chip, or get something. But when you feel it in your pocket or you see it, use that as a wake-up call. Start there and change your life, man. Thoughts become things. Stay focused. I got a wristband that says thoughts become things. Stay focused. Whatever it takes to get you right, more often than not, do it. 100%. Other than that, I think we covered everything.
Definitely covered a lot. Where can our listeners, they're like, all right, cool, man, Neo-Positivity, I'm in, I want to do this. Where can they connect with you online?
Neopositivity.com. You will find the Facebook, the Instagram, the groups, the summit. You'll find everything all on the homepage, easy access. And like I said, it's free. You got zero excuses, man. I'm telling you, coming from the hood, everyone's got an excuse of why they can't use the law of attraction. You got no excuse. It's there.
So good, man. It's so good. Well, look, man, I appreciate you spitting all this knowledge. I love the subjects that we talked about today. Thank you so much for being here, man, and being fully present the way you are. It was amazing.
Thank you for having me, brother. And we got some future work to do. I see where you're headed mentally, and I love it. You are what I would call a soldier in the war on negativity. So we got some work to do, brother. Thank you.
There's lots of that. I appreciate you. You guys, look, I mean, I don't care which side of the fence you sit on, whether you believe in it or you don't, it's just real. Go check him out. He's got so much. I mean, I'm sitting here just smiling because I got to listen to dude, watch him smile, hear all of his knowledge, and I can't imagine what that summit. I'm definitely going, so I hope you all do too. I want you to remember your mindset matters. Until next time, we'll talk to you then. Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to letsgowinpodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.